just wanted to talk a little bit about this video by Dr Mani Mittal that was put out a few weeks ago. But I have met patients who've done this before in the past, who've banged their head, and it can be really traumatic. And if you've watched the video, and I highly suggest that you do watch it back, because it's a really personal experience, and you can tell the journey that Dr Mani and his team and this patient have been on. Dr Mani recalls the whole of the aftercare incredibly well, and he talks about how supportive his wife was during that first year after surgery. If you've had a hair transplant yourself, you'll know exactly the kind of agony that this poor patient went through.
I turned to my wife and I was like, is there anything wrong with my head? And she was like, yeah, it looks like it's just a bit of blood, but that's got to be part of the surgery. And then I look at the door, I look at my head, and I've clocked that I've still got anaesthetic in the back of my head. So as I got in, it's hit me in the side and I didn't notice it, and I've just dragged it all the way across. I just went into meltdown mode on the whole drive home.
Often you can take a year or more to even make that decision when you're going to have surgery, and you've then chosen the surgeon that you want to go ahead with, and you've put down a deposit and you've booked that date, and then you have that excitement and nervousness in the build up to surgery. And then often on the day of the procedure, my general sort of feeling is you have that sense of relief that you've taken that step, and now you can't turn back, because you've gone ahead with something that you've been worrying about, something that's really bothered you over the years. And then for this to happen on the evening of the surgery, I feel so sorry for this patient.
You're like, mate, I told you anything. Touch the car door, but you calmed me down. You said, let it heal. Let's see how we go. Yeah.
All of that anxiety, and generally on the day you feel that sense of relief that you found the right surgeon. You look in the mirror, you like what you see. The design is what you've designed with a surgeon on the morning, and then to have that feeling that you've ruined all of that work, not to mention the expense and the time, by one simple mistake of banging your head as you got into the car.
You were due to fly out within 24 hours or so. You was in Saudi, and then you were sending me pictures on a daily basis, and there was one specific spot on the left-hand side where it was very black.
Because it's a complete accident. But what struck me about this video was when he's talking about talking him down off from the ledge, that he had tears, all of those sorts of things. And I'm not surprised, because it's such a big thing to go through a hair transplant surgery, to make that decision, all of the waiting time for the procedure.
And I mean this respectfully, I think at that point you started obsessing over it even more. I think actually at that point you would have said, I would rather not have a hair transplant surgery. That's how bad it almost became for you. And I think for me, as a surgeon that's looking after you as a patient, there's this fine line, right? You're a really nice guy, and I'm a doctor, and I felt that you'd almost become family at this point. So I was trying to do absolutely everything above and beyond. I take these things personally almost, if you don't get a good result, or if you feel shitty about having a hair transplant surgery, I feel like I haven't done my job properly. So I wanted to get you into a place where you would hopefully not need any other surgery to fix that area.
One of the things that I really like about Dr Mani and his clinic is the aftercare. They have a WhatsApp group where everyone's involved, not just Dr Mani, you've got Dr Kula, you've got the other members of staff as well, are all involved in this WhatsApp group. So at any one time, if the patient has a question, somebody's there to answer that really quickly. And I think that's important. I think that's nicer than just having one person that's dedicated for aftercare, because you've got 3 sets of eyes or 4 sets of eyes potentially on those questions, and anyone can jump in and answer that for the patient. The other thing that struck me about the video was the journey that the two of them had been on, Dr Mani and the patient. Dr Mani knew every aspect about the patient's aftercare. And, from experience with patients and having been a patient myself, that first couple of weeks after surgery is a really anxious time, because you've invested all this time, energy and money into your transplant. And obviously what you don't want to do is mess it up. So people are incredibly worried about that first contact hair wash, sleeping at night. All of those questions happen, and patients have lots of questions in the first couple of weeks after surgery. It's perfectly normal, and clinics expect that, and that's where you really need to be there in the aftercare for those patients in those first couple of weeks. And even in the first couple of months, obviously, when you go through the ugly duckling period and you're waiting for the grafts to grow in, it's really important that the clinic is there for you. I think in this case with Dr. Mani and this particular patient, is that the heightened anxiety must have been up to this level with this patient, because not only did he have all the normal concerns that a patient would have, he had that big concern was, have I completely messed up my hair transplant, or have I messed up an area of my hair transplant? If you look at the clip from the video, you can see he had some potential necrosis in the recipient area, and that must be heartbreaking for that patient. That constant dialogue and communication between Dr. Mani, his team, and the patient would have made it so much more easy for that patient. And I think that the conversation that they would have had is that Dr. Mani would have said, look, we're standing by you. We're going to put this right. And after speaking to Dr. Mani about this particular patient, I found out that he brought him back in again for a touch-up procedure, complimentary. There was no charge. This wasn't Dr. Mani's fault or the clinic's fault, even the patient's fault. It was an accident. But Dr. Mani stood by his patient, offered him a free procedure, and I think he even then provided extra grafts. It's not just the area that was damaged by the hitting his head on the car. He also filled in some other areas as well. So I think that's incredibly generous, and that's exactly the sort of thing that I look for when I'm looking to work with clinics. Ethical clinics who stand by their patients, have excellent aftercare, and genuinely care about their patients' best outcomes. Isn't looking at the bottom line. Quite easily, Dr. Mani could have said to him, well, look, it was your fault. You banged your head. It wasn't us. And charged him for that second procedure. But he didn't. He stood by the patient. He'd been through that whole journey with him, and he wanted to put it right for him. The other thing that I found incredibly touching, at the end of the video, the two embrace, and you can tell that there's a genuine warmth between the patient and Dr. Mani for that journey that they've been on. That journey of that constant dialogue, that constant reassurance that, it's going to be okay. We're going to put things right. What's done is done, and we just have to move on from here. And that's why I collaborate with Dr. Mani. I only want to work with clinics that are ethical, talented, and care about their patients. And you can clearly see from watching this video, and I suggest you watch the whole thing. You can find a link here, because it is incredibly heartwarming to see how Dr. Mani and this patient develop their relationship through this trauma of banging his head on the surgery, and how that brings them closer together, and how Dr. Mani fixes it for this patient in the end, and he has a fantastic outcome. Keep following or subscribe for more videos all about hair loss and hair transplants.